All right, so today we're doing something a little different. Forget the usual greatest hits of civilization, pyramids, battles, all that jazz.
Right, we're going deeper, much deeper.
Exactly. We're trying to get to the bottom of why humans even bother with societies in the first place.
And luckily, we've got a heck of a guide for this journey. The 14th century scholar Ibn Khaldun, his Muqaddimah.
I'm seeing it described as kind of a must-read everywhere I look.
Yeah, and for good reason. It's not just some dry history book. It's like Khaldun's trying to decode human behavior itself.
And one thing that really struck me was, well, he didn't buy into that whole civilization as a nice bonus idea.
Oh, not at all. He was convinced it was fundamental to our existence, essential even.
Which, when you think about it for like 2 seconds,
Yeah.
kind of makes sense, right?
Yeah, absolutely. His point is, biologically, humans are wired for interdependence. We're not lone wolves thriving in isolation.
No kidding. Can you imagine, like, if you were suddenly completely on your own? No grocery stores, no Amazon deliveries.
Forget Amazon. Imagine hunting, gathering, building tools by yourself.
Whoa. Suddenly, even surviving till dinner becomes a major project.
Exactly. Khaldun uses this example of solitary food acquisition to show how hard it would be.
And don't forget danger. One human versus a lion. Not a recipe for success.
He was really tuned into this fragility of civilization, He saw firsthand how empires collapse, how chaos takes over.
So he knew the score, basically.
Oh, yeah. He'd seen what happens when cooperation falls apart.
Makes you realize civilization isn't just about knowing which fork to use, huh?
Right. It's about survival, about supporting each other so we can actually thrive as a species. And Khaldun absolutely nailed that.
No doubt about it.
And, Khaldun wasn't content with just the why of civilization. He had to dig into the where, too.
Oh, so geography comes into play.
Big time. He was really interested in how geography, and specifically climate, could help or hinder a civilization.
Interesting. So, like, not all places on Earth are created equal when it comes to building a thriving society.
That's what he believed. We got to remember, though, his view of the world was a little different back in the 14th century.
Yeah, no Google Maps back then. So how did he picture it?
Well, he divided the world into 7 climate zones, each with its own quirks.
Okay, I'm picturing this ancient map. What kind of details are we talking about?
For instance, he mentions this surrounding sea encircling everything, what we call oceans today.
Right, makes sense.
And get this, he talks about a mountain of the Qamar believed to be the source of the Nile.
Which we now know is
the Ethiopian highlands. So, his map may have been different, but he was on to something with these connections.
That's really cool. But how does this climate idea play into all this?
He was convinced that these temperate zones, the ones with mild climates, they were ideal for civilization to really take off.
So extremes of hot or cold, not so much.
Exactly. He thought those extremes made things way harder, not just for growing food, but for everything.
Really? Everything? Give me an example.
Well, take architecture, for instance. A building in the desert's got to be different from one in the Arctic, right?
Makes sense. Different needs, different materials.
He even thought climate affected something as subtle as people's personalities.
Okay, hold up. So someone in the Sahara Desert is going to have a totally different personality than someone in, say, Ireland.
Well, now we're getting into some of his bolder claims, but basically, yeah, he thought so.
I mean, it kind of makes you wonder if there's any truth to those stereotypes we have about people from certain regions.
Right. And he backs it up with observations. Like, he describes people in hotter climates as being more upbeat, livelier.
But maybe a little more likely to, make a rash decision.
He uses the analogy of heat slowly simmering a person's spirit, making them more reactive.
Interesting. So what about the folks in colder areas?
He observed that they tended to be more thoughtful, more reserved. Maybe even a little gloomy sometimes, he thought. He compared the people from Fez in the Moroccan hills to those from the Jared, a much hotter region.
Okay, and what did he find?
Well, he thought those from Fez were always thinking ahead, storing up resources, while the Jared folks were more relaxed about it all.
Wow, you can almost feel the difference just hearing him describe them. But I gotta ask, isn't this a bit, oversimplifying things?
Oh, absolutely. We have to remember the historical context here. It's not like you can draw a direct line between latitude and your personality type.
Right. It's way more complex than that. But what I find fascinating is that Khaldun was already wrestling with this question that still resonates with us. What's the connection between our environment and how we behave, both as individuals and as a whole society? So we've talked about what makes civilization tick and how this whole geography thing plays into it, especially climate. But Khaldun, he doesn't stop there. He goes even further into kind of spooky territory.
Right into the realm of the supernatural, which, knowing Khaldun isn't some random detour, he's still using his sharp mind, still observing.
So it's not like he's suddenly telling ghost stories, right?
Not at all. He's interested in the hidden depths of human perception, intuition, that sixth sense kind of thing. Like, he was fascinated by these people he called soothsayers.
Okay, soothsayers. Not quite prophets, are they?
Exactly. He makes a clear distinction. Prophecy, to him, that's direct revelation, divine intervention. Soothsaying is more like an earthly knack for knowing things.
So more like intuition, gut feelings.
You got it. And he even gets into the nitty-gritty of how they did their thing, these soothsayers, gazing into mirrors, examining animal bones.
Specific. You'd think those methods were like trade secrets.
Yeah.
But what's Khaldun's take on all this? He believes it, or...
Well, he's not dismissing it. He's trying to understand it. And here's the kicker. He suggests this supernatural perception, this ability to see beyond the everyday. It's not just for a special few. He thinks everyone has it to some degree.
Hold on, so you're telling me I've got a little soothsayer inside me?
Maybe. Khaldun would say it's like a muscle. Some people develop it more than others, but we all have the potential.
So those times when you just get this hunch, this feeling, and it turns out to be right.
Khaldun might say, see, inner soothsayer at work.
I like it. But this also gets into his ideas about dreams, right? He took those pretty seriously, too.
Oh, absolutely. Dreams, to Khaldun, were not just random brain firings. He thought they held real meaning, glimpses of the future, hidden truths about ourselves.
He was basically like, the Matrix is real, centuries ahead of time.
Right. And get this. He compares dream visions to prophecy. He even calls them a 46th part of prophecy, linking our subconscious to something bigger, something maybe even divine.
Wow. Why do you think dreams have this power, though?
His idea was that when we sleep, our senses are quiet, right? So the soul, it's free to perceive things that our normal waking mind blocks out.
Makes sense. It's like when you're relaxed in the shower or something, and bam, a great idea hits you. Your mind's not cluttered with the everyday stuff.
Exactly. Now, look, we can debate whether dreams literally predict the future, but Khaldun was onto something about their importance. Even modern psychology agrees. Dreams reflect something deep within us, our hidden thoughts and feelings, and that's a powerful idea even today.
It really makes you think. Khaldun, this guy from the 14th century, is making us question everything we thought we knew about ourselves, about how our environment shapes us, even about the meaning of our dreams. And you know what? I think it's exactly what a deep dive like this should do. Leave us with more questions than answers, and a thirst to keep exploring the mysteries of civilization and the human experience.